Good morning. Well, the coffee arrived and we're all set. Today you're in for our final series, and Patty, our special sponsor for all the series and delightful woman she is, that we are so happy and blessed to have you. Before we get totally into this, the sponsors out there, we do wish to thank them, and even though the goodies were kind of reversed, it was nice because you got to give them extra support today. And so with no further ado, other than to remind you, if you're in the first 5 rows and you're camera shy, because it's going to be recorded, you may want to go in through the back. And I was going to save this for the end, but because we'll be taking questions and everything else, that being with the health ministries, that the developmental series is what, next week, Linda? Next Friday. 8:30 to 11:30. There you go. For birth through 5 years of age, and usually doctors and physical therapists and nurses, of course, are out there to be sure that our children of the area are developing and seeing and etc. in the category in which their ages. Let's see, what else? Oh, also hearing. And Linda will be doing the testing on that, and you can sign up starting tomorrow and get your hearing checked. What? Huh? What'd you say, Brad? Huh? So, with all you alert and oriented people, maybe you don't need this, but we love hearing from Patty. So, no further ado, here is Patty Mouton.
I was just telling Kay I'm going to miss our Saturdays together, and we're just going to have to plan something for the fall because I just can't be away. I think I've become an honorary Methodist after all these times. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Just by getting up and getting dressed, putting your smile on, getting a little bit detailed, you did a marvelous thing for yourself because you had to muster up some new brain connections this morning in order to get up early on a Saturday morning, get here on time, be sweet to everybody, smile. Even though the coffee was the teeniest bit tardy, again, it gave us an opportunity to be kind and understanding to Rachel from Assured Care because she had it all ordered, she had it all in place, and the order had a snafu. Well, it occurred to me that in aging, we all think we have it all in place. We have it all ordered. We have a plan. And then we slip on a cosmic banana peel, and there's a snafu with a capital SNAF. How many of you know somebody who had it all together, was getting a little bit older, but had things organized in life, and then what happens? A fall, or an unexpected illness, or an accident. I'm sorry? I didn't hear what you said. I need the hearing check. Oh, well, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But so this morning, it's really going to be a conversation because I want you all to be thinking about your own family home situation. Just as I get started and do a few intros, I want you to think about it. If you had fallen when you got out of the shower this morning, what would have happened? Is there somebody in the house who would have known you had fallen, could call 911, or could help you get up and just repair your dignity? Would you still be lying there? How would that be in your household or the household of your next door neighbor? Because we are our brother's keepers. So some of the messaging I'm going to give you today is not only just for yourself, but think about the people who are your neighbors. And I don't mean in the esoteric sense. I mean, who lives next door to you? Who lives across the street? Who lives 2 doors down? Do you know them? Do you know whether or not they have struggles? Do you know whether or not they might be able to help you in the event of some unexpected, unforeseen, mini or big catastrophe? Neighbors are an important part of this equation, so just be thinking about that, because I'm going to call on some of you, so be prepared. So we don't have a pastor here this morning to start us off with a reflection or prayer, so I'm going to do that. But you have to indulge me because I'm not as young as I used to be, and some things I used to do effortlessly, and now it takes a little more courage. But I believe that as we age, and really in life, we all should have a fight song. So how many of you did actually go to SC? Oh, a couple. Oh, bless your hearts. I actually did one of my certificates at SC, so technically I am a Trojan, even though that really wasn't my inclination. But I believe that life means we have to have a fight song. And so instead of a prayer this morning, I'm going to share with you my personal fight song. And you'll have to bear with me because, like I said, I'm not as young as I used to be. Will you let me be your servant? Let me be as Christ to you. Pray that I may have the grace to let you be my servant too. I will hold the Christ light for you in the nighttime of your fear. I will hold my hand out to you. Speak the peace you long to hear. We all have to be one another's servants. So today, I will be your servant, and we're going to talk about safety. So a couple of little disclosures. We are funded sometimes by special grants, and this particular area of education is funded by the Administration on Community Living, which is a far-removed child of the National Institutes on Aging. So it's a little bit of funding for us to do the research to write this class. We are also in partnership with groups like the Golden Rain Foundation from Leisure World Seal Beach, from the Somang Society of Korean Americans, and we have many, many groups that help to fund and support what we do, including our sponsors this morning. In the front is Dave Riggle. Dave is an expert on home adaptation, and so I thought it was particularly appropriate for him to be here this morning. We have Care Choices Hospice. You'll see Shauna this morning, who's pinch hitting for Miriam, whom you've met before. We have O'Connor Mortuary, because you know what? We got to plan ahead for that need too. We have Rachel from Assured Care. We have Kristen and Natasha from Alzheimer's Orange County, and we have Seda from Irvine Clinical Research. So all of these groups help us to put together programs like this and to be able to be here in the community. So, top safety hazards. Well, this doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. But I'm going to tell you something that just might floor you, pun intended. What do you think is the primary presenting symptom of Alzheimer's disease? Gold star and an extra cup of coffee if you know the answer. What do you think is, say it? Falls, you're right. Get that man a cup of coffee. Yeah. Good job, Bob. Falls. Now, does that mean people don't have any memory problems or reasoning or judgment problems up until the time of the fall? Absolutely not. It means that denial is more than a river in Egypt, and people don't recognize what's going on with themselves or with the people that they love, or even with their neighbors, or they're embarrassed to say something, or the person who has the dementia percolating is very good at compensating, and their family's in denial, and nobody really keys into the fact that this person needs more help until there's a catastrophe like a fall. And then they go to the hospital, they have surgery, everything goes on, everybody's like, oh my goodness, the sky is falling. And it is, because the person can't compensate when they're in pain. They've had surgery, anesthesia, pain medicine, and now everybody sees, oh my goodness, this person is very vulnerable and needs a lot of extra help. So part of our message today is don't wait until you have a catastrophic fall to either seek some help or to offer some help to someone. Just because someone says, oh, I'm fine, dear, does it mean they're fine? No, it means they're very polite and they think that's what you want to hear. And very often when we say, well, how are you doing, Mabel? What do we really want her to say? Fine. Do we really want the honest answer? Most of the time, no. But part of why you're here today is to hear a message that you need to hear the honest answer. Because if we're all going to age well and safely, we have to be looking out for everyone else. And we do have to be our brother's keepers and our sister's keepers. And we do have to go a little extra mile for others, because they may be the ones who go the extra mile for you in the event you had some sort of a problem. So remember, I asked you to think about what would happen if you had fallen this morning, and who would know, or who could you call on? If you could crawl to the phone, what would happen? I'm not going to ask you to share it, but I want you to think about it, because you should all know your neighbors, even if you don't like them, even if they're Republicans or Democrats or whatever. You still need to know them, and you need to be friendly with them, because they might save your life, and you might save theirs. So one of your homework assignments, and you're going to have several today, is to make a list of your neighbors. Make sure you have their telephone numbers, cell phone and landline. Make sure they have yours. Make sure you know whom they choose as their next of kin. Who would we call if somebody who lived across the street from you fell in the driveway and hit their head and couldn't tell you anything? You should all know that about your immediate vicinity neighbors, and they should know about you, because that's where accidents happen. So that's your homework assignment, is to get to know your neighbors, exchange important information, like your daughter is your next of kin that you would want called. Here's her number, here's her husband's name, here's where she lives. Because they may be the ones telling the paramedics who to call for you. So just think about that. I don't want to inject gloom and doom, because you're all here and you're strong and we're healthy and we're going to be that as much as we possibly can. But in order to ensure that, we got to start with the basics. So know your neighbors, know their phone numbers, Have them readily available, like magneted on your refrigerator, and know who their next of kin is. I will tell you that I've shared with you that my mother passed away 3 years ago at the age of 97. She did beautifully, and she really wasn't sick until 10 days before she died. But there were a couple of times while she was living alone in a great big house, all by herself, that it was essential that we knew her neighbors, and they did call us. Or if my mother called me in the middle of the night at 2 a.m., I'm 30 minutes away. I could call the neighbor and say, could you go over and just sit with her? The paramedics are coming, I'm coming, I just don't want her to be all by herself. Well, they were more than happy to do that. So I know firsthand that it's important and that it works. So that's your homework assignment. Any questions? You will be graded. So safety hazards. Well, you could probably tell me more safety hazards. Pets. Wet bathroom floors because you didn't quite close the door all the way, or you left the shower curtain out and you have a big puddle when you get out and you didn't even realize it. The phone ringing is a hazard, because what happens when the phone rings? We all go, oh, the phone's ringing, and we run. They'll call back, I promise. What other hazards are there in the home, in your homes, that are not listed here? What other things could cause a fall or a problem, a safety issue, a slip? Running to the bathroom during the night. Now, not to put too fine a point on it, and you don't have to raise your hand, but if you had to get up more than once in the night to use the potty, you're at risk. And most of us, by the time we reach 65-ish, have to get up in the middle of the night once or twice or sometimes 3 times. That we know. And if you wake up and you think, oh, I probably should get up, and you think, oh, but it's warm here, I don't really want to get up, don't wait too long, because if you wait and now you're in a hurry, now you could be in trouble. So think about that as we talk about how to remove clutter hazards, how to improve lighting, how to have a pathway to an important destination in your home that isn't going to be filled with obstacles and speed bumps. We have enough speed bumps in life. Let's not have them at home. Can you think of other hazards at home? Say again? Rugs, area rugs. They're no longer in style once you're 65. I don't care what your decorator says. They're no longer in style. I'm just going to make a blanket statement. If you've got area rugs in any kind of a traffic area in your home, give them away right away. If they're valuable, give them to somebody that you like. But don't have them in your home, in the hallways, and minimize those kinds of things that could be potential trip hazards. Because even if you think you're not going to trip, I have news for you. We all do. And so you want to minimize those opportunities. So let's talk about some statistics. Now, I'm not a big statistics girl, although I did pass. I actually got an A in one statistics class in college, and I'm still shuddering from it. But people fall. In the United States, 1 out of 4 people age 65 has a fall. How many times have you fallen this calendar year? It's June. I've had 2 big major falls this year just myself. Now, I may not be the right example because I'm out so much and I'm running around and I'm carrying stuff and I'm going and doing, and sometimes I'm not as slow and deliberate and careful as I should be. But it happens. And so that makes me a high fall risk. It's actually in my chart. It's a little daunting. I'm like, wait, I didn't think I was to little old lady status yet, but apparently I am because I'm a high fall risk. So be aware of that. And it's not something to be ashamed of. It's not a stigma. It's a sign. It's an indicator that we need to do things to beef up our balance, to pay attention more, to be a little more careful, and to watch where we're walking. So most falls happen at home, about 60%. Some happen in a public setting, about 30%. And my most recent fall actually happened in a hotel lobby. I was carrying things to go set up for a conference, and I was looking good, and I was in my high heels, and I was feeling like I am on top of the world. And then I went pow, and did a header. And my hands were full, so I couldn't even break my fall. I broke the fall with my nose. So don't be like Patty. Watch what you're doing, stop and think, and understand that falls are a hazard. Some of us fall in a healthcare center, and you'd think that would be the best place for it to happen. Well, actually, no. Because if somebody isn't right there, and you fall getting out of bed because you have to run to the potty, and you didn't want to wait and call for the nurse or the nurse's aide to come and help you, then maybe they're not going to come for 15 minutes or 30 minutes if they've already just done your vitals check. That's not negligence. That's just the routine in a healthcare kind of setting. So understand, if you're in the hospital and you have to get up to use the bathroom, call for the nurse. And don't wait until you're in trouble. It's important that we anticipate the fact that we might have some vulnerability. Doesn't mean we have to be scared, doesn't mean we have to go into that shuffle. You know, you want to be strong, you want to be balanced, but we want to be mindful. So what's the impact of falls? Well, the worst part of it is falls are also one of the leading causes of death in people over 65. Most people who fall and break a hip or a femur or some major bone, not all recover because it's very hard on your body and it's hard to heal. So we want to avoid that. And you want to talk to your doctor about the types of supplements or perhaps medication even that can be appropriate for you if you have a tendency toward osteopenia or osteoporosis. Because if you have brittle or more fragile bones, you not only want to be a little bit more careful, but you want to do whatever you can to build up those bones. And some of the new medications for building bone are amazing. So look into it. My own mother, and this was actually more like 10 years ago, she had had a fall and had broken a leg and hip, and she was given Forteo to inject herself for 2 years, which is a bone-building medication, and it worked. She never had another broken bone. And she did have falls. And she was Caucasian and very thin and tiny, and that's one of the most at-risk populations for osteoporosis. So ask your doctor, what should I be doing to protect my bone health? And maybe it is appropriate for you to have some of the prescription medications that are currently available. Maybe the doctor will say, well, take your calcium, take your magnesium and your vitamin D. That may be what the doctor suggests. It may be that all your tests show that your calcium levels are fine and that if they've done bone density scans, that your bones are fine. Okay, follow your doctor's orders, but look into it. Because wouldn't it be too bad if you could get a little extra boost of bone building and you could prevent a more catastrophic injury? So please do that. So 1 out of 3 older adults falls each year. And once you've fallen, you're more likely to fall again. Hence, the label on my chart, high fall risk. The most common areas for falls are, of course, the bedroom, getting up in the middle of the night. We have 2 little dogs, and only one of them is strong enough to jump up on the bed by herself. The other one just thinks he can, but can't actually do it. And so one of us has to get up in the night and put him up on the bed. Well, more than once, my phone cord's been in the way, or the quilt has been on the floor and I didn't know it. And, you have to be careful. So anticipate what might be part of your routine. The stairs. Now, everybody knows stairs can be a problem if you fall down them, right? Lighting. Clear the stairs off. Don't have any stuff on the stairs. Don't go up and down the stairs carrying stuff. You can carry a few things, a couple things, but you know what? If you have to make 4 trips up and down the stairs to put the laundry away, that's better than 1 trip where you trip and fall and now you're in the hospital for a week and you can't walk on that leg for 6 weeks, right? So think about that the next time you feel the teeniest, tiniest bit lazy and don't want to walk up and down the stairs again. And don't carry stuff that is going to impede your vision when you go upstairs or your balance. You need to hold on to that railing. That's what they're there for. So be aware of our own limitations when we're going up and down stairs. And of course in the bathroom floors get wet. I don't care what anybody says. And too many bath mats that aren't really well affixed to the floor aren't going to help you. They're going to be a hazard. So go home today and look at your bathroom and look at your bath mat and look at that little rug that's in front of your sink. Does it have a little gripper underneath it? Do you always kind of check yourself a little bit when you go to brush your teeth and, oh, tripped on that rug? I guarantee you will thank me if you roll it up and put it in the garage and never see it again, because it now is not adding to your fall hazard. So just kind of be mindful of that. Think about it. Between 20 and 30% of falls cause moderate to serious injuries. You don't want to fall and crack your head, because at our age, that can be a precipitator of noticing that you have other cognitive issues. And balance can be affected by cognitive disease. And we don't always think about that, because when I say cognitive disease or memory problems or Alzheimer's or dementia, you know from Dr. Ritter's lecture what that means, right? You know what the symptoms might be. You're not thinking about falls. And we classically don't think about the fact that a cognitive disease that is causing degeneration of brain cells is also working on the centers of the brain that control how we walk and control our balance. That's a brain function. So if you do have some Alzheimer's disease or vascular dementia or dementia with Lewy bodies or Parkinson's type dementia, especially those types of dementia, have components that exacerbate any balance or mobility issues. So be aware of that. And if you love someone or are caring for someone with a dementia, even if they're walking fine today, this afternoon they may have some problems. So just be mindful of that. Watch how they go up and down the stairs. Remind them to hold the railing. Remind them to do things like tie their shoelaces. I'm going to go a little tiny bit tangential, but this is an important safety tip. If you lose or gain 7 pounds, or if somebody you love loses or gains 7 pounds, if they lose 7 pounds, make sure their pants aren't too long, because that's just enough weight to make the pants so long that they could trip on them. Their shoe size might change. As little as 7 pounds can mean the difference between whether or not the shoes that fit you today are a little too big and make you shuffle. So for an older person who isn't necessarily out shoe shopping all the time or running to the tailor every couple of weeks, watch for that. Because something that you wouldn't expect, their pants are a little too long, their shoes are a little too big, and now that area rug is a weapon of mass destruction. So be aware of that. Why do falls cause so much morbidity? Why do you think a broken hip causes so many problems? It's just a broken hip. We can do all kinds of things. We can put in a new hip. We can put some screws in, little bone glue. I'm not doing so well this morning. I'm a little more expressive, maybe too much coffee. Why is a fall where you break a major bone such a health problem at our age? Who hazards a guess? Yes? Yeah. Sure, it takes a long time to heal, especially if you've had to have an extensive reconstructive surgery. Okay, so she was in rehab for 2 weeks, and then it took another few weeks before she could get up and walk on her own, and maybe you needed an assistive device like a walker for a while or something like that. Yeah, or you find that, you just can't walk all the way down that hallway without stopping to think about it because it hurts, or because you're relearning muscle memory. If you don't walk around, if you stay in bed for 3 days, do you know you already start to lose muscle memory and muscle mass? 3 days. So a bad flu can take you down, so you almost have to relearn your balance afterwards. Imagine if you've been in the hospital a week, in a rehab hospital for a couple of weeks, and now you're just kind of getting back. It can take you a while to get all your strength back. That's not an old wives' tale. You have to get your muscle strength back. And we lose that muscle mass if we don't use our muscles every single day. So another tangential thing is, what else should you be doing every day to ensure you have the best balance possible? Walking, weights. Okay, and if you don't have a little set of weights, you can get them at Walmart or Target. I use the 2-pound weights a lot. Soup cans, bottled water, books. But do a little weight training and talk to an expert about it. Don't go out and try and be Arnold Schwarzenegger overnight. But do use weight training to help you with muscle tone, muscle mass, and volume. And it does help with your balance. The other things you can do. How many of you have been to a physical therapist for balance? Oh, come on, more of you than that. All right, you don't have to raise your hand. Most of us who have had any kind of physical issue, the doctor has probably recommended physical therapy. Well, why? Why do you suppose physical therapy is important if we've had some balance issues or we've had a fall? You want to retrain your body in the ways that we don't think about, in the ways that are kind of unconscious. And you want to learn to do certain exercises, and I'll show you one. This is the one that my physical therapist makes me do every single day. Rain or shine. I have to stand like a flamingo and raise one leg off the floor and see how long I can stay there without falling over. And I have to be in a place where I could grab something if I need to, but this flamingo thing is really, really important. Now, I'm not telling you to go home and do this without your doctor's advice, but talk to your doctor about it. Ask for physical therapy. Medicare may very well cover it if necessary. Oh, she's taking a picture of me being a flamingo. Hi. That's going to be on the internet for the rest of my life. But you want to do these things that are going to ratchet up your strength and your mobility. You want to walk as much as you possibly can. And again, you have to talk to your doctor. You may have to have some physical therapy. But if you can walk there, do it. And I've told you this before. When you go to Albertsons or Stater Brothers, or which market do you all go to here? What's the best one here in Irvine? Ralph's? Okay, I like Ralph's too by me, but I go to Albertsons because it's close. Where should you park? The farthest parking place away, as far away as you can. Now, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to do that? I mean, I'm in a hurry. I just have to pick up a couple things. I'm in a hurry. Thank you very much. Why do you want to have the parking place that's furthest away? It's one of the easiest things you can do to force yourself to walk a little bit more. And if you think about it, when you come out of the grocery store, if your groceries are all in the cart, what do you have to do when you push that cart? You're lifting weights. And when you lift those grocery bags out and put them into the car, what are you doing? You're lifting weights. So have them pack your groceries in such a way that it's not so hard to lift that bag, that it's okay, but do it and put them in and do it yourself. And if you have to make 6 trips from the car into the house to bring the groceries in, do that, because what happens if you have 4 bags in each hand? It's just that much easier for you to fall harder because you weigh more with all that stuff in your hands. Okay? So make the extra trips. It's worth it to you. But do that and park far away and then walk anytime you're going to go somewhere. Most experts tell us that once we have fallen and had an injury, it makes it not only easier for us to fall again, but it impairs our ability to fully recover each time. We don't get better at recovery as we age. We actually get less effective with recovery as we age. So we don't want to recover. We want to just stay good. Okay? So why do falls happen? Why do you suppose? Well, there's no one reason. I attribute the fall I had in the hotel. I was having some little issues of vertigo, and they were just kind of getting it under control. Well, I think, as I'm walking in, I'm in a hurry, I'm excited, I've got stuff in my hands, I'm going to see colleagues and people, and oh my goodness, this is so wonderful. I wasn't concentrating on the task at hand, which was safely walk into the room. But maybe because I was excited and I'm thinking about a bunch of things, the vertigo, I may not have noticed that I was having a little moment of imbalance because I wasn't paying attention. So pay attention. Okay? Why else do you think people fall? Biological reasons. A urinary tract infection. We've talked about UTIs before, and I know it's not our favorite topic, but they can also be a weapon of mass destruction. So an undetected urinary tract infection can affect your balance. And too many of us, as we age, don't always recognize symptoms of a little infection until it becomes a big infection. So pay attention and do the things that your doctor suggests. Promote urinary tract health. Water, unless you have some restrictions for hypertension or kidney disease. The right kinds of vitamins, the right kinds of foods. Maybe cranberry juice is good for you. Maybe the cranberry pills are better for you. There's something called methanamine that is a routine, even over-the-counter medication that combats bacterial gathering. So talk to your doctor, especially if you have a tendency toward urinary tract infections, because sometimes before you even have a symptom or a fever, You have the dizziness associated with it, and you can't even put your finger on it. What other biological reasons could cause someone to fall? Say again? Weakness, sure. If you've been in bed for a few days and you, or even if you've just been in the car for 6 hours going to visit grandchildren, be careful when you get out of the car, because you're not going to be as strong standing as you were when you got in. You got to, get a little oil can going and kind of move around a little bit and get yourself centered a little bit. Neurological diseases. Parkinson's disease causes problems with gait and shuffling and balance in the brain. And so you've seen some of the characteristic shuffle of people with Parkinson's disease. It's like their legs are a little too tight. They're tentative the way they walk. Another form of dementia that very often is misdiagnosed is normal pressure hydrocephalus, which actually can be treated, and very often the person can come back to their normal level of functionality, but they don't recognize that the shuffling gait, little steps like this where you're tentative like this, and feeling like or actually falling backwards is a hallmark symptom of that type of dementia. Once we drain the fluid that's causing the problem almost always resolves. But if we don't drain the fluid because we didn't recognize it and we don't go to the doctor to have it checked, now it just gets worse, and now even if we do treat it, we're not going to be able to combat those symptoms. So be aware there could be a number of biological things that are happening. What about medication? Oh, have you ever read the fine print on most of your prescription meds? Dizziness is so often one of the side effects. So pay attention, because maybe it will resolve as your body tolerates the medication better and better. Maybe it won't. Maybe it's going to get worse with subsequent doses. So talk to your doctor. But read the fine print. That's important. What about behavioral issues? Now, you don't have to pick on me, but I will. When I fell, I was in a hurry. I was vain because I had on really high heels that I ought to have been wearing. I was carrying too much so that I couldn't really see out over the load I was carrying. I was in an unfamiliar place, and I fell. That's a behavioral problem. That's not anticipating what my needs as an older adult are with getting from the parking lot into the conference room. So that's a behavior. Being in a hurry, not planning, wearing the wrong kind of shoes or the wrong kind of pants, maybe not wearing my glasses, or having my readers on and not my distance glasses when I have to walk, or whatever it could have been. But that was all on me. That was behavioral. What other behaviors can make us risky for falls? Well, step stools. Step stools. We're going to talk about step stools. The only step stool you should be using is one that is absolutely engineered for that purpose for a person of your size. And you should splurge, buy the good one with the handles on it. And don't put it away every time you use it. I know it's not a decorator item and we don't like to have it out, but how many times have we said, oh, it's okay, I can reach that? And then we have a problem. I'm doing a lot of self-revelation this morning, but you may have noticed that I'm not very tall. In my stocking feet, I have to admit I'm not even 5 feet tall. I feel taller. Well, one time when I was alone in the house, I should never have been left alone in the house, in the kitchen no less, and there was something on the highest shelf in my cupboard, and I needed it right now. And of course, nobody's home, and I don't know where the step stool is. I know we have one, but it's in the garage, it might be in the attic, who knows? That's a behavioral issue. So what I did was, I'm very adept, I climbed up on the counter, and I got the dish out of the top of the top shelf, no problem, set it down on the counter, and then went, oh my God, how do I get down? Do you know I had to wait standing on the kitchen counter until my husband got home? Because I wasn't sure how I was going to get down. I'd managed to get up, but getting down is a whole different thing. And I was even afraid to sit on the kitchen counter because I thought, well, if I try and sit down and I lose my bearings, well, then I'm going to fall on the floor anyway. So I just stood there. Do you think I felt a little bit stupid when he came home? He's like, hi, honey. I said, hi. He said, any particular reason why you're up there on the counter? I said, well, I just was hoping you'd be here to get me down. So it happens, and it could have been really catastrophic if I had felt like, oh, I can do this. I am not one of those divers off the rocks in Acapulco. I can't do that, and neither can any of us. So your behaviors can impact your safety. And we want to be independent. We want to do it ourselves. You know what? Take the help. If somebody offers you an arm going down a flight of stairs or coming off a curb or getting in and out of the car, take it. It's really okay. You actually might like that person a little bit better. Socioeconomic reasons. What do you think might be the economic reasons that impact how people fall? Did they eat enough? Are they dizzy because they're hungry or their blood sugar isn't right? Are they taking all their medications properly? Are they dehydrated? Dehydrated. Could that cause a fall? You bet. So, first thing in the morning, unless you have fluid restrictions, again because of hypertension or kidney disease or some other congestive heart failure, have a glass of water first thing, because you know what? You wake up from sleeping, you're a little dehydrated to start with. So make sure you're hydrated properly and ask your doctor how much water you should be drinking during the day. Because some of us take diuretics or blood pressure medicine or what have you. Talk to the doctor about it. But dehydration is a problem, and it makes everything worse. So a lot of people say, well, I don't want to drink too much water because then you know what happens. I have to run off to the potty. Okay, well, yeah, that is kind of what goes in must come out. But don't use that as an excuse for not being well hydrated, because when you're dehydrated, guess what? Pain feels worse. Dizziness is worse. Your balance is not going to be good. Everything is worse if you're dehydrated. Your blood gets sludgy. So drink your water. Talk to your doctor about how much you need to have each day. What other factors tied to socioeconomics might be causes of falls or contribute to falls? Well, if the carpet's really nasty and it's got a couple of places where it's up and fraying, and you just can't afford to have that carpet fixed or replaced, that could be an issue. What else? Other signs of disrepair in the house. Maybe the outside steps are crumbling a little bit. You know, there could be a number of different things, and if people don't have the funds to do these kinds of home repairs, now it becomes a real safety hazard. Oh, what was that thing about we are our brother's keepers? So instead of complaining about your neighbor whose front steps look terrible and are in disrepair, maybe say, you know, I noticed you might need a little help with these steps. Maybe we could take a look at it, and I may have somebody that I can recommend for you. Or there are programs in Orange County where you can get people to come out and do minor home repairs, and they do it pro bono. In my neck of the woods, our Knights of Columbus, every weekend they do a home repair project for somebody in our parish who is elderly or maybe doesn't have the funds or just doesn't quite know what to do, and they go out and they do the repairs. So help people, and you don't have to embarrass them or shame them. You just say, I noticed you might need a little help there. Maybe I could help you. Or if somebody says, oh my gosh, I almost fell getting out of the shower. Gosh, I had grab bars installed in my shower, and it's really made a big difference. Have you thought about grab bars in your shower? I know a great person who can help you with that. And now you do, because you know Dave. But make suggestions. Be in conversation with people. If you've done something in your home to increase the safety, share it with others, because it might be the trigger or the spark to get them thinking about what they might need to do at their home to make it more safe. What about environmental factors? What are environmental factors that could affect safety and fall risk? Rain. We've had more than our share. And the porch is slippery, or the grass is more muddy and slippery. Or not realizing there's a step where there's a step because it's all wet and it's all glistening. Ah, yeah, sure. And it's easy to miss a step going up or going down, and that can be catastrophic. So rain is a factor, and also it's not so bright and sunny, so you may not see everything quite as well. What other factors from the environment that could make a difference? Uneven sidewalks. Does that happen in Southern California? Yeah, all the time. All the time. So be aware of it. And watch for breaks in the sidewalk or in the cement. Watch for areas where it's uneven. Be mindful of things. The environment can make a huge difference, and the environment includes the lighting in your home, taking up the rugs, cord pollution. How many of you are guilty of cord pollution? I think I might be too. Extension cords. In fact, I forgot my power cord for my laptop this morning. And the reason I didn't get it is because I said, I'll get to that. I'm just going to pack this and I'll get to it. Because the way I have it wrapped around the back of the furniture to avoid that cord pollution in my living room, it's a real challenge to get that cord out. But before, I had it right in the middle of the room, going across about 4 inches off the ground to reach the plug. And, gee, is that a trip hazard? Yeah. Even my little dogs didn't like it. They didn't like to go under it. They didn't know if they should jump. So be aware that our environment has a huge impact. And I'm one of those people that can live in a little bit of organized chaos. It doesn't bother me if everything is kind of out and around, because I do know where things are, and that doesn't bother me. My husband, on the other hand, needs to have all his paper clips going the same way in the drawer. And these sandwich bags have hospital corners, okay? He has to have neat order. If he comes into a room where I'm doing crafts or I'm working and there's stuff here, he's a fall risk because it all makes him nervous and he can't stand the clutter. If you are a neatnik, good. If you are not a neatnik, take a lesson from the people that are, because an orderly home decreases your risk of falls. I'm going to show you some good pictures after a while. So environment's important. All right, so we've talked about some of these risk factors. Clutter, stairs, crowded surroundings. You may think it's hard to fall in a crowd of people. It's one of the easiest places to fall. And take it from me, not very tall, if I'm in a crowded room and everybody is 5'6" or over, I feel like I'm lost in a jungle. Think about that the next time you're in a crowd And maybe you let everybody else go out first, and then you walk out. You don't have to be the first one to the donuts, I promise. But think about that. Being in a crowded place increases your risk because you can't really see your feet. Somebody might knock into you accidentally. Anything's possible. Lighting. Think about the lighting in your house. And I want you to walk your house, lights on and lights off. Take a look around and see where a little extra lighting would make a big difference. Hallways. We don't think about how hallways should be bright. Put a bigger watt bulb in that, on the right step stool, or call someone to do it. Don't get up on a chair that's not meant to be. Don't get up on the kitchen counter to change a light bulb. But think about lighting. I think you'll be amazed. Sometimes by just adding a lamp or two here and there, you make a huge difference and you cut down on that risk. Cracked surfaces like sidewalks, loose rugs, slippery floors. Be careful. And when we talk about socioeconomic activity, maybe people aren't as active, maybe they don't go places because they feel like they can't afford to go or they don't want to spend the money on the gas. If they stay home and are more isolated and are doing less and getting up and walking around less, guess what? They've lost muscle mass, they've lost muscle memory, they've lost balance acuity. So invite people out. Say, come on. I'll spring for the coffee this time if you think that's a problem for them. So that's our brothers and sisters that are a little more challenged socioeconomically, we need to do a little more for them. And what other factors? Well, age, yep. Sorry about that. Age is a blessing and a curse when it comes to falls. Most of us who have had a fall know a little bit better what to do when something like that happens, but we don't want to get that from experience. You want to get that from book learning, okay, please. Gender, women fall a little more often than men. We're not really sure exactly why. Race, sometimes, well, and our ethnicity impacts our risks for diseases like diabetes. And guess what? If our blood sugar isn't properly managed, we get dizzy and we're more likely to fall. So people who are at higher risk for diabetes and hypertension have higher fall risks as well. And any cognitive decline, of course, is a risk for falls, and physical problems. You know, if you have a lot of arthritis and you cater to the arthritis, then you're not going to be as strong when you go to get up. And, you know, I can say this is self-revelation morning, but I have arthritis everywhere. I'm Irish, and we have a propensity toward osteoarthritis, especially knees and hands. Well, I'm lucky I've got it a bunch of other places too. So what do you do to combat that? You get out your emotional oil can, and when you get up in the morning, you move around, and you move your hands. Wherever it hurts, that means you need to move that joint. And do the things that are going to help you cope with arthritis. Maybe it's taking an anti-inflammatory medicine. Maybe it's just movement and stretching or heat. You know, sometimes that helps. But do those things that get you up and able to move better. Do not get up and try and move things in your home if you've just been sitting or lying down for 4 or 5 hours and you can barely get yourself straight and you can't really grab anything because your hands hurt. Think about that. You've got arthritis in your hands and they hurt a little bit. You've got some in your knees, maybe a little in your back. And you go down the stairs and your hands hurt so you don't hold on to that railing very well. What happens if you trip going down the stairs? Because you didn't get the carpet on the stairs repaired when it had a little hole in it, because you just didn't want to spend that $500 to have them come out and do it. And now you've gone head over tea kettle onto the floor. to making you more or less of a fall risk. So let's not drink too much. Let's eat properly so that you don't get dizzy from a blood sugar change, or if your blood sugar isn't well managed. What if you're not socializing enough? What if you're isolated and you're lonely and you don't get up very much during the day? I know people, they get up, they get out of bed, they brush their teeth, they get dressed, they come downstairs, they have their coffee at the kitchen table, they stay at the kitchen table for an hour reading the paper, then they move to the couch to watch TV. And that might be pretty much the extent of their movement for the day. They might get up to go to the refrigerator. You gotta move around more. That old adage of the 10,000 steps is a little bit of a myth. We think it was maybe invented by the people that sold the little pedometers. But you do need to move around. And that's something you can check with your doctor about. But how do you feel if you're moving more? Better. And if you have some infirmities like arthritis or an injury or something, then you have to do it in a smart way, and that's where physical therapy comes in, and talking with your doctor about the best ways for you to get stronger. But get stronger. And it doesn't take much to get you stronger. Just a few weeks of using some weights can make a huge difference in the strength of your arms and hands. Using those little stress balls. Sometimes our friends have stress brains or stress stars, or if you don't have any, we'll get you some because lots of different places have them. But use them when you're talking on the phone or you're watching TV. Use your little stress things because it'll keep your hands mobile and stronger. All of these things, and keep your brain going, because once you let your brain kind of sit fallow, guess what? Your noggin controls everything. And so if you're not using your brain, then it's going to be harder for your brain to tell your body what to do. So let's watch a short video, and Jack is going to be my helper to make this happen. It talks a little bit about what's going on at home, especially if a person at home has a cognitive issue.
My father gets into everything at home. I feel like I have to watch everything he does or else he gets into trouble. I could really use some help. What are you doing? God, you should not be cooking. Look at the mess you've made.
I was hungry. I wanted a grilled cheese sandwich.
I am sick and tired of this. You're never to come in the kitchen again.
I'm sorry. I was hungry.
Dementia can affect judgment, behavior, physical ability, and a person's senses. All of these factors can contribute to safety issues. Home modifications are needed to keep the home safe. As dementia progresses, a person's ability and judgment diminish, making the home a potentially dangerous place. Here are some tips to help keep your loved ones safe in the home. Use child safety locks to store away medications, chemicals, and sharp items such as razors and knives in a safe location. Lock away weapons or remove them. Throw away expired food and keep food that you do not want your loved one to access out of reach. Have the phone number to the poison control easily visible. Remove or cover knobs on stoves and ovens. Install a remote on-off switch or turn the gas off if necessary. Signs with step-by-step instructions can be used to remind your loved one of how to use small appliances. Unplug or remove small appliances from site if they're too dangerous to use. It takes effort and creative problem solving, but in the end, safety modifications can keep your loved one safe at home.
Now, I don't really like the way the son responded to his dad's difficulties, and we don't want to make people feel infantilized or punished, but it is important that we take safety precautions. And I know my husband made sure that the toaster is now on the low shelf so that I don't feel like I have to climb up anymore just to make toast. That was a joke. But we can all modify our homes a little bit. And we'll get back to our slides. I think if you go up and X out at the top, it's easiest. The top tab. If you just go up to the top tab. No. Scroll over to the one that's open. There you go. And then come down. You should be able to come back to the PowerPoint down at the bottom, Jack. That's the one on the end, on the very end. Nope. It's the one at the very end. If you just click on the one at the end. There you go. There you go. Perfect. Yay, that's wonderful. Okay, so look at this bedroom. What could be wrong here? Now, you do want to have your shoes right next to the bed because that's earthquake safety. But maybe you want to have them neat together, so if you had to jump out of bed fast, you'd have right, left, you'd be all right there, and not akimbo like that so that you could trip on them. And what is that little area rug doing right out by the side of the bed? That's an invitation for a fall and tripping. And what about that night table? Do we need everything on that night table? Maybe not. And what happens if you needed to use that night table to steady yourself? With all that stuff on it, are you going to have a place to put your hand? No. So maybe you don't need the plant and the book and everything right there on the night table. Maybe you can move some things away. Do you need a chair right there? Maybe. Because maybe you want to get up and sit down and then put your shoes on. But is it in the best place? Perhaps not. What else do you see in the other slide? Door open. Now, door's open. What are you supposed to do with your bedroom door when you're sleeping? Close it. Why do we close the door when we're asleep? Fire and smoke, exactly. So close the bedroom door when you're sleeping. And you can look and see, okay, well, it looks like there's a telephone, maybe an alarm clock there, and a lamp. That's not bad because it's a little extra light, and maybe that could be your night light. The shoes are neatly tucked where you know where they are. Every single time you go to bed, you put your earthquake shoes right there, and they're stored in such a way that they're neat, and you can just grab them and put them on. And there's an easy egress out the door if you need to get out quickly. All right, let's look at stairs. Oh, goodness. What do you see there that could be a problem in the first picture? No railing, I know. It looks cool if you're a model home, but is it safe? No. What else? Yeah, it's not very well lit. You can tell that it could be a little brighter. There's a lot of stuff on those stairs. Is it like me where you're not ready to go upstairs, and so you put something on the stairs and you think, I'll take that up next time I go, right? Not a good idea. Because what if you're coming down the stairs and the phone's ringing and you have to go to the bathroom and the doorbell rings and the dog is barking? You might trip on some of those things on the stairs. So you need more light on your stairs. And that's an easy thing to do. Find out what you can do to make sure that your stairs are well lit, and then turn the light on the staircase. We have little dogs. I've told you about my dogs before. They are the cutest things on the planet. And they're real agile, and they say dogs can see well in the dark. Well, we started leaving the light on our staircase at night because I realized one little dog wasn't coming upstairs because it was a little too dark and she wasn't sure how to get up the stairs all by herself. And once I turned the light on, she came right up the stairs. So take a lesson from that. Turn the lights on the stairs before you go down them. Let's look at the bathroom. Oh, what do you see in this first picture that could be an issue for safety? Area rug. It's not even a bath mat. It's just a decorator rug. Right? What else? No grab bars. Look at the second picture. It's got all kinds of grab bars. And what do you need when you get out of the shower? Something to steady you, right? And a shower chair. Now, I know nobody wants a shower chair, but Wouldn't it be great if it enabled you to live at home for another 6 years without help? If you just could sit in the shower, and then it's a little bit easier if you're sitting in the shower chair to pivot and put your legs out so you can safely get out of the tub easily, especially if you have a big step-in tub. And when you're at the potty, again, nobody likes to think about it or talk about it or acknowledge that anybody ever uses that porcelain appliance in most of our bathrooms. But if you need to stand up, you know what? You need a grab bar sometimes. So don't be ashamed or feel like there's stigma. It's safety. It's smart. It shows how intelligent and forward-thinking you are. It is not an admission of our frailty. It is an empowering act to keep us safer, stronger, longer. And isn't that what we want? Safer, stronger, longer. All right. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate this. I thought about it, though. I was going to make Kristen do it, but I thought better of it. But there are ways to get up off the floor that are safer than others. And this is something that you probably want to talk with a physical therapist about. But first thing you want to do is just calm down. Relax. I don't care how embarrassed or mortified you are at the fall, but just calm down. Assess. Am I okay? Am I awake? Does it hurt like the dickens anywhere? Can I move? What's going on? If it hurts like the dickens, then don't move too much. Wait. Call for help. But if you can move, then you want to either crawl over to where there's some very sturdy furniture that you might be able to pull yourself up on, and then get yourself to a kneeling position using that sturdy thing. And be careful, like if it's the bed, don't just grab the covers, because too many times people do that, and then what happens? The covers come down and you fall again. So hold on to the mattress or the bedstead or the headboard. Hold on to something strong, and that should enable you to pull yourself up, especially if you've been doing what? Your weights. Because I guarantee you, if you haven't been doing any weights to keeping your arms strong, you will not be able to pull yourself up very easily. And you're going to need to. We have to be able to do these things. So then you get one knee forward, and then you place that foot flat on the floor, and that gives you some traction. You push up with your arms, and you pivot so that your bottom comes around. And then sit down. Don't try and get up and go, oh, I'm fine, and let's go. Sit down. Why do you want to sit down after a fall? Make sure you're not dizzy. Make sure you're not going to fall again. Make sure that maybe something that didn't hurt too much isn't now hurting much more. You can do a little self-assessment, take a deep breath, and it's going to further calm you down. Okay. Lighting. Good lighting not only helps us see more clearly, we see colors better, but at any age it's a good idea. You can use dimmer switches, and it is not expensive to have an electrician come in and put a little rheostat on some of your light switches if you don't necessarily want full brightness there all the time. Like maybe on a staircase. Maybe at night you want to bring it down, but then you want to light it up again if you're going up and down the stairs. Hallways need light. Clean windows. Oh my goodness. It makes a huge difference about how much light can come in, and we don't realize how much the windows need to be cleaned until we wash them. And all of a sudden, it's like you have a brand new house. There are things called senior lights, where you can do the clapper. You've seen that on TV in the middle of the night, those commercials where you can set up your lights to do that. There's all kinds of Bluetooth kinds of lighting, and it's really easy to use and install. But you want to have as much light as possible on those areas of the house that tend to be a little bit darker and where you might be more likely to fall. So a hallway, a bathroom, a staircase, an entryway that might be dark at night. You want to maximize light for all of us because our eyesight is not so great, and we need that extra help. So get a little extra light. A floor lamp doesn't have to take up much room, and it can be the difference between being able to see well as you're coming into a room. So take a look. Ask your friends to make suggestions. Where should I put an extra light to help that would still look good if you're particular about how your surroundings are set up, if you have that decorator inclination. Oh, what happened? Goodness, yes. Oh, well, okay. Well, then we will just forge ahead. Fire. What happens if you have a fire in your home? What do you do first? Get out, okay? Grab the dog, grab your husband, get out. That's thing one. Don't go back for your birth certificate or for your grandma's pearls. Get out of the house and call 911. That's one reason why you should have your cell phone on your bed table at night, charging so that it's charged up, so that if you wake up and you smell smoke and fire, you grab that cell phone. First, get yourself out of the house. And any other people, get them out of the house first. Dogs, cats, goldfish, they also are important, but get out of the house. Then call 911. Have 2 exit plans out of your house in mind and written down, and actually practice it. Because most of us have never practiced an exit plan in an emergency. Think about if you're in your bed at night, you wake up, you smell smoke, you know there's fire somewhere, how do you get out of the house? If the fire is in the hallway, so maybe you can't get down the stairs and go out the front door, what can you do? Can you get out of your bedroom window? Do you have a plan of how you might be able to do that? Think about it. You can also call your local fire station. Don't call 911, call the non-emergency number, but ask them if they have somebody who could help with a little home safety evaluation. Pardon me. Figure out if there's something you need to do. Maybe you need a little rope, ladder that you could use to get out of a second-story window if you absolutely had to. But that's also why we close bedroom doors. If you've got extra bedrooms that nobody is using at night, close those bedroom doors. Because if the fire starts in one of those bedrooms or comes up from upstairs into that bedroom, if that door is closed, that very well may be what allows you the safe passage out the hallway. So think about that. We don't want to think about this gloom and doom, but preparation gives you confidence. Throw away any appliances that have frayed cords. Any damage to the plug, to the cord, anything. If it sparks a little or sputters when you plug it in, goes in the trash today. Don't send it to Goodwill. They don't want it either. Throw it away. And sometimes older appliances just need to be thrown away. If they don't always work all the time and they start to feel hot on the bottom and all of that, get rid of them. Don't wait. And when you're cooking, how do you cook? A lot of women like those big, funny, I shouldn't say funny, that was an editorial comment, but bell sleeves or flowy sleeves. Yeah, it looks really cool. It's very bohemian and, sometimes very fashionable. Not good for when you're cooking. Put that on after when you go to serve dinner. Watch what you're doing. Wear an apron. Use your hot pads. Don't use a dishcloth to go and get a hot pan, Because is the dishcloth insulated appropriately for something hot? No. And you can really injure yourself if you don't realize it, and you may not feel the heat until you're already getting burned. And if that dishcloth has a lot of polyester in it, guess what? It just melted on your hand. So use the right kind of oven mitts and things to protect yourself when you're cooking. And don't have long flowy sleeves. If you have long hair, put it back. Be mindful. Men, if you're wearing a necktie, tuck it in when you're cooking. I've never seen a man actually cook with a necktie on, have you? But that's one of the things they suggest. And don't put too many electrical cords into one socket. How many of us are guilty of it, of getting the little extenders, sticking it in, and you got 15 appliances going out of one socket? That's a recipe for disaster. Don't do it. It means you've got too many appliances out at once. There's a reason we don't have all of those things all plugged into the same wall socket, because it overloads and it can spark and cause an electrical fire. When's the last time you checked your smoke detector? I checked mine not long ago. That's because it was beeping. But every year, pick a month. And that's when you do maintenance. And if you have to call somebody to come in to get on the great big ladder because you've got cathedral ceilings, pay the money, it's worth it. Don't cobble together a ladder and a step stool so that you can get up there and reach it. And make sure it's got new batteries. And when it's a good time to remember that is when we change our clocks for daylight savings time. That's a good time to do some of these home maintenance things to remind yourself. I hope none of you smokes. In fact, I can look out here and see probably none of you smoke, because you're probably all good Methodists and you're healthy, right? But if you do smoke, don't ever smoke in bed. Don't smoke inside. Makes the house stink. And it's not good for other people who might breathe in that air. But don't smoke in bed or in a chair where you fall asleep reading every night. And if there's anybody using oxygen in your home, do not light a cigarette in your home, because we'll be reading about you in the LA Times. Don't leave candles burning in an empty room. Candles are lovely, and sometimes they really make the air, the ambiance and the environment, it's a wonderful, wonderful fragrance, and everything is prettier by candlelight. Of course, we love that. It's lovely. But don't leave candles burning when you leave the room. It's really important. And people forget. And honest to goodness, house fires start because somebody lit a candle and they thought it was out and it wasn't. And then they have a real problem. So don't leave candles burning. And if you use space heaters, and luckily here in California, it doesn't get so cold that we need a lot of space heaters. But they are also weapons of mass destruction for many people. So be careful about space heaters. You should stay 3 feet away from anything flammable. That's furniture, rugs, curtains, pets. Be aware that space heaters can be very, very dangerous too. And I'm changing my slides, but nothing's happening. I'm such a creature of habit. Okay, who has a carbon monoxide detector in their home? Almost everybody. For those of you that don't, get one today. Go right over to Home Depot or go on Amazon and order it today, because you need that. It's important. I worked with a family, and luckily they averted tragedy, but mom was in very early stages of dementia, still safe to do just about everything, including drive short distances. But she had ice cream in the car from the grocery store. She was in a hurry to get from the car in the garage in to put that ice cream away because she knew it could melt. She left the car running. The garage is attached to the house. She left the door from the garage to the house open, and she had closed the garage door. and she left the car running because it was kind of a quiet new car. What happens? Could be a recipe for catastrophe because the carbon monoxide builds up. Luckily, the car did not have a full tank of gas, so it ran out of gas. And somebody came to visit her soon after the car had run out of gas and was like, what? This is kind of, stuffy in here. What's going on? Why is the garage door into the garage open? Put their hand on the car, and the car was hot. Mom, what's going on here? Your car's out of gas. Oh, and they figured out what had happened. So she did not have a carbon monoxide detector. Get one, just in case. And maybe then it's time for Mom not to be driving at all anymore. You want to replace those batteries at least twice a year in the carbon monoxide detector. On your medications, if you need the pharmacist to put big print labels on them, do that. Or if you want to take a Sharpie and make sure you're putting it on the right cap, that's your pain medicine. I've had many families do it different ways, but make sure your medicines are very well labeled and easy to read. And always keep your medicines in the original bottles so that if somebody needs to know what you took, it's right there. Okay? I know we like to put them in those little pill boxes, and that's okay, but you want to make sure you don't put like 5 weeks worth in there. Use just the 1 week ones. That's a little bit safer. And cleaning products. Oh my goodness, who's made this mistake with ammonia? Don't mix ammonia and bleach. And if you're really intent on cleaning that bathroom spick and span and killing every germ possible, you might be guilty of this. So don't mix cleaning products because that can create fumes that will knock you out and maybe kill you. So be careful of that. Don't heat your home with a stove or the oven or the grill. I think we know that, but sometimes we need to say it out loud. And your pharmacist can do large print labels for you if you like. I'm going to talk just a little bit about scams in terms of safely aging. If it sounds too good and really exciting, it probably is too good to be true. So understand that there is a billion-dollar industry in the United States today and internationally of scamming older adults who might be vulnerable to somebody's very persuasive conversation. So be careful of that. Don't give out your credit card number. If the credit card company is calling you, they don't need your number. And I sometimes have a hard time. I got a call the other day, and it was legitimately from the Social Security office. But I didn't know that. And when they asked me to validate some information, I said no. Now, what that meant was I had to end the call and then call Social Security and call back and take care of the business that had to happen. But you know what? I didn't give my Social Security number out. I didn't give my bank routing number out, and nobody stole my money. So just be careful. It's okay to be suspicious. If somebody calls you and they want some information from you, say, I don't know who you are, and until I can validate that, you don't get any of my information. And one of the most heartbreaking scams that's happening now is that with a lot of artificial intelligence programs, they can replicate the voice of your 16-year-old granddaughter pretty well. So know how to get in touch with members of your family so that if you get a call and your granddaughter says she's in trouble and they just want you to send money, Grandma, see if you can get them by text, your daughter or your granddaughter on their cell phone. Are you okay? Where are you? Somebody's on the phone trying to scam me. Be mindful of that. That this is a way. There used to be one where somebody would answer the phone and say, hello, and the voice would say, Grandpa? Yes, Johnny, is that you? Grandpa, I'm in trouble, but don't tell my parents. I'm down here in New Orleans and I got into trouble. I was drinking too much. I'm so sorry. I need bail money. How much do you need and where do I send it? Send it to Western Union. My friend will pick it up. No, don't do it. Validate. Too many people have just done that because they love the grandchild, they don't want him to be in trouble, and they're just out the money. And nobody from Social Security is going to call you and say, you have been overpaid, you must take cash over to this courier. Don't be afraid to be a little bit rude and a little bit testy with people. You can be as prickly as you want if you suspect that this might not be a valid request. Shred your receipts. If you don't have a shredder, save that stuff, and most cities have an annual shredding event. Shred the EOBs that come from Medicare with your summaries. Every month I get a summary from Scan about all the medications I'm on. And I'm like, I don't want to put that in the trash. My garbage man or my nosy neighbor does not need to know what dose of Synthroid I'm on. So shred all that stuff. Put yourself on do not call lists, and anytime there's something that is unsolicited and seems fabulous, it's too good to be true. Top 5 things you should have in a special place that you always know where to look, and that people who know you know where to look. Refrigerators are a great place because many paramedics are trained to look on the refrigerator for important information. But you should have a list of emergency phone numbers, your kids' numbers, their cell phone numbers, your grandkids' numbers. Have it be very clearly written or typed in, printed out in big font. If you have weapons, and some of us are sportsmen or gun enthusiasts, I have no judgment there. Just make sure that they're safely stored. And if you have someone in your home who has a cognitive illness like dementia, then now it's time for you to store your guns elsewhere. Because being locked up is no safety when you have someone who has judgment impairment or doesn't understand that the person coming in is you with the groceries and not an intruder. And many, many tragedies have happened because people don't think about the fact that people with dementia don't lose their native intelligence. They lose their judgment or they lose their ability to understand a situation. But they still might remember the combination to that lockbox that has the gun. So if there is dementia in your family, the guns need to be stored elsewhere. Have a spare key or keys hidden, but where your kids know where they are, where your neighbors that you trust know where they are. Because what if you fell when you got out of the shower this morning? Could somebody get into your house if you hadn't unlocked the doors yet? Do this with the neighbors right around you that you trust. Know where their keys are, or exchange keys if necessary, and do little welfare checks on one another. It can mean the difference between life and death, because if you fall and lay on the ground for a few hours, your body starts processes that can lead to kidney failure. And you just don't want that to happen. So it sounds a little gloom and doom, but a little bit of preparation can go a really long way. Make sure your medications are secured, that you know where they are, you know what they are. You have big labels if you need them. And make sure that somebody outside your household knows what medications you're supposed to be taking and about how many should be in the bottle. Because God forbid you make a mistake one night, and instead of taking 2 of your allergy pills, you take 2 of your strong pain pills. just because you weren't thinking and they look a lot alike. Maybe that's going to be just enough to make you too dizzy to be able to manage your stairs properly. So have people who love you know what you have taken and about how many should be in your bottles. Do your strength exercises. Make sure your shoes are not a product of your vanity. Your shoes are part of your overall safety. And many of us have that good common sense. Not every single day. We sometimes fall victim to, fashion aside. But understand that shoes are important. Tying your shoelaces properly is important. Noting that if you've lost about 7 pounds, your shoes could be too big for you. Use handrails. Get up slowly so that you prevent dizziness. And once you've been sitting, before you stand up, shake your feet a little bit. Just shake them out, shake your hands, move a little bit, and then prepare to stand up. Because your feet may have gone to sleep or they may not be quite as responsive, but if you shake them a little bit, then you know your brain is telling them what to do. Balance and mobility exercises are crucial before you've had your first fall. Don't wait. Start now. Chair exercises work. Take a yoga class. Take any kind of an exercise class that's going to help with your balance and mobility, so long as your doctor says it's safe for you. And I've given you some handouts, a couple of them. One is a home safety tip for older adults. This is a really good one. And it's both sides, so be sure you read both sides, but these are really good to have. And this is the kind of thing that you can take back and talk with some of your neighbors and say, let's have a cup of coffee and look at these things, and let's work out a little way for us to check on each other and be sure that we're as safe as possible. This one is from the CDC, and it gives a lot of good tips, a lot of checklists, and things for you to look at and say, is there a light and a light switch at the top and the bottom of the stairs? Oh, maybe not. If there isn't, maybe you can have one installed. You can have an overhead light and a light switch at the top and the bottom. Has that stairway light burned out? Get somebody to change that bulb. Don't do it yourself if it means you have to get on a ladder. I sometimes think that ladders should be outlawed at a certain age because nothing good ever happens when people get up on them. Here's a good one. This one is 9 steps to downsize your home. Now, we may not be ready to move, but I'm telling you, getting ready in your mind to move creates an order that you will really start to appreciate. You do not need all the Christmas cards you have ever received since 1968. You don't need them anymore, really and truly. You don't need boxes and boxes and boxes of snapshots. Get the ones you like and put them in an album, and the rest of them, you can store them off-site somewhere, or you can dispose of them because you didn't like them when the picture was taken 22 years ago. You're not going to like that photo any better today. So don't keep all that stuff. Self-storage is good if you can rent a little storage unit or if you have room in your garage. Oversized items, Christmas items. How many of you have all your Christmas decorations under the bed? More points if you have them in a big Tupperware bin. But you know what? That's a fire hazard. Get them out. Put it someplace else. Label that bin, and maybe you take it to a storage unit. Or maybe your kids will store it for you and then bring it over and help you do the Christmas decorating. It's a good way to get them there. And memorabilia and collections and things, yeah, it's wonderful, but does anybody need 126 teapots? No. We actually worked with a family. Grandma collected things. She wasn't a hoarder. She just had a lot of stuff. 126 teapots that her kids had to pack and make sure we're okay because she just couldn't go anywhere or do anything without knowing that her teapots were safe. Start this process now, because you know what? If you do it, you control it. I don't want my daughter throwing away stuff of mine. I want to know where it is. And I want to be the one to decide. So start today, even if you just do 10 minutes. Starting to declutter or starting to decide, I don't really need this anymore. Perhaps it's an item that you can give to somebody who really needs it. Do you have 2 toasters? I actually have 3. I don't know why we have 3 toasters, but we do. Should I get rid of 2 of them? Absolutely. Am I going to? Yeah. But do a little inventory. What could you get rid of? And there is a real beauty and symmetry and freeing of getting rid of stuff in your home that you don't need, that is causing clutter and could be the source of some sort of accident for you. So, we've gone over a lot of information. My primary message is do whatever you can to empower and strengthen yourself so that your home environment remains your safe place. Do what you can to improve it. People do better if they can age in place. That doesn't mean that placement isn't right. Placement in many, many cases is exactly what needs to happen for many people. But if you can stay in your own home, you actually will stay healthier longer. So do what you can to make your home as safe, as organized, as decluttered, and as easy for you to use as possible. And then, should you have to have somebody come in and help you, you don't have to say, no, I don't want that plate. I want the one that's the red one that's the 4th one down in the back of the cupboard. That caregiver isn't going to know what you want. But if you just have the plates that you like and use in your cupboard, oh my goodness, now it's easier. So pare down wherever you can. You don't have to throw everything away or give everything away, but maybe you could store it if you know you haven't used it in the last year or so. And the same with clothing. If you haven't worn it in a year, they say give it away. I sort of keep it in another closet for another year just in case. But get rid of things. It will make you feel better. It will make your closets easier to manage and navigate. And you won't have so many trip and fall risks if you don't have so much stuff in there. And you won't be tempted to get on a chair and get that pair of shoes that's way up there that you haven't worn since, I don't know, 1984. They probably don't fit you anymore, and the lining has probably disintegrated, so get rid of them, honest to goodness. So we are here for you. We can help you if you wanted to speak with a social worker about some hints and tips about your particular home. Sometimes the fire department will come out and do a safety evaluation. If you really needed one, we might be able to have a social worker just do a cursory look at the home and say, maybe we need to do X, Y, and Z. You can do it yourselves, really. But we're here to help you if you can. And we're here at Alzheimer's Orange County to help you with all aspects related to any kind of cognitive problem. And as we age, we might worry that we have something going on, and actually it's nothing to worry about. So don't be afraid to ask, and don't be afraid to get screened or tested. We're here for you on a daily basis on the helpline. I'm here for you. Kristen is here for you. Our colleagues from Irvine Clinical Research, from Assured Home Care, from Dave, who's going to help you do all the things you need to structurally in your home, from Care Choices Hospice, O'Connor Mortuary. We're all here to help you and to do whatever it is you need from us. So it has been such a pleasure to do this series for you this year. We hope to come back and we'll dream up some other topics. If you have suggestions or things you really would like us to cover for next time, please talk with Kay, because we put our heads together every year and then we come up with things that we hope will be very useful and informative for you. And be servants to one another, because that's really why we're all here. We're walking each other home. Have a great day. Oh, goodness.
That's something for you.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you very much. Oh, that's wonderful, Polly. Thank you. Surprises. I love that. Oh, my goodness. Thank you.
I'll help you down the stairs. Here we go.
That's right.